Hello and welcome to Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl. Wealth is the ability to fully experience life by Henry David Thoreau. I'd like to start with something funny. An 8-year-old girl asks her father, "Daddy, what is sex?" The father is somewhat surprised that she would ask that question, but he reckons if she's old enough to ask the question, she's surely old enough to get a straight answer. So the father proceeds to tell her young daughter about the birds and the bees. After the brief explanation, the little girl appears a little pale, wide-eyed in disbelief. "By the way, dear, why did you ask?" said the father. The little girl replies, "Mommy told me to tell you that dinner would be ready in just a couple of secs." Okay, I would like to remind us of the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Be impeccable with your words. Speak with integrity. Say only what you mean. Avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip against others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. Don't take anything personally. Nothing others do is because of you. What others do and say is a projection of their own dream or illusion. When you are immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering. Don't make assumptions. Find the courage to ask questions and to express what you really want. Communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstanding, sadness, and drama. With just this one agreement, you can completely transform your life. Always do your best. Your best is going to change from moment to moment. It will be different when you are healthy as opposed to sick. Under any circumstance, simply do your best and you will avoid self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret. Our special guest this evening is Michael Eisenmenger. This is the second segment of a 2-part discussion with Michael. Michael Eisenmenger. Michael is an educator, print and web designer, and media producer. He did community outreach and education at the Manhattan Neighborhood Network. In 1999, he co-founded the May 1st Technology Collective, formerly called Media Jumpstart, where he was on staff until 2003. He is a member of the Paper Tiger Television Collective, a board member of Vidya Zamit, an international coalition for democratic communication, and was one of the founding members of the New York Media Alliance and the Autonomous Media Project. He has also worked in the projects of independent media centers and coordinated the project's television satellite casts from Seattle, Washington, and Mexico City. Michael also co-founded Media Jumpstart, a nonprofit organization providing database, web, and technical assistance to the New York City progressive nonprofit community. Michael later helped launch and directed the daily news program Grit TV with Laura Flanders in 2008. Michael is currently the executive director of the Community Media Center of Marin. If it weren't for CMCM, Community Media Center of Marin, this show wouldn't be airing. Welcome, Michael. This is an honor to have you on our show, especially since you are the director of Marin TV. Express your creativity.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to do it. Researchers, there's just a lot of. So it's great for youth. I feel like we have some good models, so hopefully we'll start seeing that grow. Meanwhile, on the government front, we're just busy getting equipment into the city. So we just finished an installation in San Anselmo, did a test shoot of their council meeting this past week, and we'll have them on the air soon, followed soon by Larkspur.
Oh, okay. So how many cities are, you said 6?
Right now we have, we did an installation in Mill Valley over 3 years ago, so they have someone else do their production, but we carry them live.
Yeah.
Same in Sausalito, we gave them some support and equipment, so we're carrying them. San Rafael and Fairfax, we produce regularly.
Right.
Then we carry the county meetings as well. Mm-hmm. We've provided them some technical support over time. And as I said, we're just finishing San Anselmo with Larkspur and maybe Ross later, and anyone else who wants to jump on board.
Yeah, yeah, well.
So then that's important. It's amazing. And in Marin in particular, people really tune in for their local council meetings and their planning commission meetings. That level of government transparency is really important to the citizens here. And it's important to the elected officials too. Fairfax in particular is really happy to have that opportunity. People will watch their meetings live, and if they have an interest on an issue, they'll walk down to City Hall, to the meeting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that participatory democracy is, something that lives through the channel.
Now, I see you're coming alive talking about this, Michael. So please elaborate, because I know before we had a very short conversation about the democracy and talking about that.
Well, I mean, it goes back to what I mentioned earlier. I mean, having these non-commercial venues allows for types of communication that just don't take place otherwise. So, I mean, there's a form of, the government channel, and C-SPAN, and people hold C-SPAN very dear. It's something that's very, it's unmoderated. It's gavel-to-gavel coverage.
So what kind of conversation are you talking about? The really nitty-gritty about the governmental?
Well, this is watching your government work or not work, whatever the case may be, but just having that transparency where government is an open window. And that's important to people.
Can you get a camera in Washington, D.C.?
Well,
you know what I'm saying.
You have C-SPAN. The problem in Washington is,
oh my goodness.
Policy doesn't happen in public hearings.
Yes, I know. Anyway.
But at the local level, it's different, and it's important to people to have that opportunity to look in. And as you know, we work with the League of Women Voters and work on their debates, and some of our members did an election show this year, and did the election results, which was great. So that's something that I think is important to the communities here, and that's what we try to do here at the center is listen to what the community wants and needs, and try and be responsive. If a center isn't responsive, it has no reason to exist. And community media is it's never static. If it becomes static, it becomes ossified, and it's dead.
Is there any way possible to get the viewership of what's going on?
No.
I know that's pie in the sky, because I know it costs a lot of money, doesn't it? I mean,
well, there's no way to know precisely. I mean, Comcast, of course, would know. With digital cable, they know. Right. They know what you're watching.
But they won't share that information?
No, it's proprietary, and they're not going to want to share that. The traditional route was Nielsen ratings or Arbitron, which are paid services. They generally only do commercial channels. I mean, they can do a survey for you for about 20,000. But usually centers like this will do, every so often they'll do a phone survey, random sampling, and check in.
Because aren't there about 70,000 members?
Subscribers.
Yeah. But
so virtually it's virtually every household in Marin. I mean, there's a lot of people without cable, and they can watch on the internet.
Right.
There's dish subscribers, of course, which don't receive the public access channels. But that's a tough thing. We get asked that a lot, and it's one of the more frustrating things. I think our board will probably commission a phone study at some point.
Oh, okay. So that would be directed from the board?
Yeah, it's a considerable expenditure, so it has to be done, for good cause.
Right. And what would that be?
The cost?
Yeah. You said good cause.
Good cause. Well, usually it's done during contract negotiations. Typically it's done when a franchise authority, a city, their contract is up for renegotiation with the cable operator.
So we should have just done this.
Well, it's 6 years ago. But usually it's done then, so it can demonstrate the viability of the public access channels to the community, and it gives the municipalities more leverage to request more.
Because I know I would have been been volunteering to call. It kind of circulated, but then it was dropped.
Yeah.
To do a phone. I said, I'd be happy to call.
Yeah. Well, usually, usually it's outsourced to a third party that does a random sampling. They have their own methodologies.
There's more of a passionate thing behind it.
Disassociated scientific format.
Detached.
Yeah. We do have a survey online, and we run spots and ask people to come to that webpage and just fill out a form, and that's really helpful.
Are you getting good response?
It's periodic. We'll get a few every now and then, but the responses, people are very thoughtful, and they when they respond in detail, it's actually really helpful. So just a quick sampling of the 100 or so we got off the bat.
Right.
More people were watching the government channel than we ever realized. About half the respondents said they watched the government channel regularly. That I didn't really anticipate that. On the community channel, they mentioned a few programs they like. The usual suspects are always mentioned the most: Democracy Now!, some of the national shows.
Of course. Yeah.
But it was a good cross section of all the locally produced programs. And the educational channel, people like that. We don't have a lot of local educational content yet. We're still trying to build that. So.
And how are you doing that?
Well, with the work in the schools.
Oh, okay.
Trying to get that. We do get a lot of content from Dominican. They videotape a lot of their own leadership lecture series and some other events, so they give us those on a regular basis.
What about College of Marin?
I haven't gotten much from them. We've approached them on.
They have a media center there, don't they?
Yeah, we've approached them on a number of occasions. They have a representative on our board, but there just isn't any content being produced.
Too bad.
We'd like to see more from them. So in the interim, our staff go out and pick up college courses from institutions around the country. And people like that. Given the demographics of Marin, lifelong learning is something that's very real. It's very...
Yes, we have a very transformational community, actually, kind of on some levels ahead of its time, and...
It's, and that, I know there's a civil grand jury report that just came out on that, whether enough attention is being paid to the demographics of Marin, based on
So what
age.
does that mean?
Well, the civil grand jury had done a report I just read a little blurb on the Pacific Sun. They had done a report, I think 5 years ago, just raising the issue and putting some cautions out there about things that should be, wheels that should be put in motion, and projects that should be talked about, and apparently none of that has happened.
Oh, you mean it just specifically in Marin?
Yeah. No, because Marin is, unlike a lot of communities, it's a disproportionately high number of seniors, and it seems like people in Marin live a long time as well. That's a good thing.
Well, we do tend to be more healthy here, I guess.
They are,
Mentally, physically,
exactly,
emotionally. That's what they focus on. Transformation from the inside.
No, it's a very healthy community in a lot of ways, and but it has to evolve to address that when it reaches a point where greater numbers of its population are over 55.
Well, we need to get the younger generation. I don't know. They're doing this too much. So it's like we need to get out of that bubble a little bit, I think, to focus on what we're talking about.
Yeah. We have, we are actively, recruiting young people to come in there. Of course, very savvy with new technologies.
Well, they've got that.
Yeah.
That's a given. It's just focusing
it. Yeah. Some do quite well. I would love to see more young people in the center on a more frequent basis, taking advantage of the opportunities that are here.
Yeah. How do you think we can do that?
Well, we've been, as I said, we've been outreaching. I think a lot of the work we're doing with the schools will help. It takes time to evolve things like that.
Right.
This is also a community where there's, a lot of young people have the technology tools they need at home.
You can sit in front of your computer and make a video.
Yeah. So I think what what they need are collaborative environments
Right.
that draws them together. Things like the maker movement, which is really effective at that.
Maker movement?
Yeah, the maker movement is kind of a do-it-yourself technology movement,
okay.
and it's a youth-driven project. It's very popular here in Marin.
Okay.
It started in the Bay Area. When the youth center was active next door, there was a lot of media production going on. John McLeod, who runs a computer clubhouse, they were very active. They were producing performances, music performances, dance performances.
Oh, wow.
We'd set up equipment there. They were doing multi-camera shoots. Really, really beautiful thing. I think youth need a space like that in Marin, a place to call their own where they can,
feel like it's
develop
theirs.
projects on their own
Yeah.
terms.
Yeah.
And that did exist, and unfortunately, it's kind of
Is it the
dissipated.
funding that fell apart?
It was foundation funded, and that they shift focus.
Oh, gosh.
But hopefully, things like that, I'm sure things like that are happening informally around the county.
Well, the Marin Youth organization that you're talking about, I got my daughter when she was in high school. I got her to do a little training in the concession, so she learned how to deal with money, and the public interaction, and then that's kind of what started her career. I mean, that was like an edge. She went from that to a hostess.
That's good. Well, that's
the
best thing for youth is to have opportunities to try different things.
Yeah.
And that helps determine. I was very fortunate. I had parents that were, didn't force me to any one niche, and they let me explore.
Do you have siblings?
Brothers? Yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
have one brother.
Yeah.
And and we were allowed to kind of choose our own path. I have one brother that's passed, and the other is in education. So we've.
Well,
I felt
you're
very
an educator.
I feel like I've always been. I mean, I've always worked in nonprofit environments, and no matter what environment I've been in, it's been educational. Even Paper Tiger was kind of a mentoring organization. When I started there, I was mentored by the older members who were, most of them were working media professionals. This is just something we did in our free time. And the longer I stayed there, the more I took on that role. And
look at you now.
and I think that's important. I think every day, every moment is a teaching moment.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we're either teachers or we're students.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what life's about. And that's what gives it the well, that's what life's about. That's the energy that it.
Exactly. And if you ever stop learning, you stop living.
Yeah. Might as well say bye.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this has been great, Michael. Is there anything that you would like to share before we?
There's, other than becoming a supporter of the Media Center.
Yes, please.
Just briefly, there is a piece of legislation that will be getting into Congress soon. So if you watch our website or sign up for our email alerts on our website, we'll send you information. But in the near future, we anticipate there'll be a call for people to sign a petition, send a letter to your congressperson. It's legislation that affects centers like this around the country, and it's good legislation, actually. It came out of California. The California Assembly and the Senate just passed it, and it just changes a little, tweaks the language of the Communication Act in a more favorable way toward public education, governmental media.
So what does that mean? Just can you kind of summarize?
It removes the spending restrictions on the funds that are received by centers like this.
Oh, that's definitely a favor.
Yeah, the current legislation, which had been overridden by local franchises, but now that there's statewide franchises, the federal language becomes the law.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And that stipulates that PEG fees can only be used for capital expenditures, which means we could buy all the equipment we wanted, but we couldn't hire anyone to teach people how to use it. It's a silly change. Cable operators, ironically, are fighting it. So we'll need a lot of public support to turn that around.
Where can they go, and when is that going to be into motion?
It just came out of the California Assembly, so it has some legs now. We had a similar bill in Congress. that languished, over several years. Everything languishes in Congress these days. This, I think, it's a smaller, leaner bill. It'll probably get attached onto an Appropriations Act or some other piece of legislation. It'll be very simple, and I think it'll have a good chance of, getting through without getting stripped out. So we'll probably just be calling on people to get their congresspersons to ensure that it gets into the legislation.
Okay, so the petition should be signed first and foremost.
Yeah, no, we'll outreach to people to tell you where to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's nothing to sign yet.
Yeah. Okay, but it's in the works. Yeah. It's in the motion.
And this is good news. I mean, almost everything we've seen lately on net neutrality, all the mergers, AT&T, and Comcast,
it's
Time Warner.
confusing to me sometimes when I look at all that.
Yeah, that's a different show, but this is a good piece of legislation, so hopefully, something good will come from it.
Okay, so we'll get that information as soon as possible. Then, as soon as it's ready and available.
Yeah.
To do that.
We'll have it on our website as soon as there's a place to go.
Good. Okay, well, thank you,
Cheryl.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, viewers. And now we see who Michael Eisenmenger is with Marin TV. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thanks to the crew.
Thank you, crew. I already did it, actually, but I'm saying thank you again, Mary, Brad, Eric, and Jack. I did in the beginning because I usually... Hello and welcome to Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl. We're live on Marin TV. This is being aired live right now. Our honored guest today is back for a second time, Dr. John Gray. John Gray is a leading relationship expert in the world. Thank you so much for being here. I read your book and I'm so overwhelmed with how much information is there that it's going to help humanity. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, Dr. Cheryl, I am so excited about being on your show. Wake Up gives us a choice. I mean, you go to these people who have trillions of billions of dollars. When is enough enough? But they're still trying to make money off of people, paying minimal wage to people. They have extreme ADHD. They're sick. I mean, this is a real big problem, and we have to elevate all of our consciousness because we're all being affected by this. And I would be remiss if I just talked about men a few minutes ago. I need to balance it with women with ADHD. They can have that symptom, but more often the symptom for women with ADHD is overly focused on other people's needs and problems and not on themselves. You see, men tend to focus on themselves, what they have to do, the emergency. They wait to the emergency. Well, if I have to do it, I have to do it. Emergencies stimulate dopamine in the brain.
Viewers learn how to achieve the financial freedom they've longed for from a new talk show called Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl.
My show, Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl, is about raising the consciousness and awareness, unconscious, around financial freedom and wealth, and applying unconditional love.
Unconditional love. If you love yourself, you won't put yourself in a bad situation. Dr. Cheryl interviews local and national personalities that have used unconditional love to help people become financially healthy.
It's two important things that you have to have in life, period, is unconditional love, and the second is no doubt.
Cheryl Shire is the daughter of a Boeing engineer and a fourth-generation Californian. In high school, Cheryl worked in her father's auto parts store and took business school classes, giving Cheryl a unique outlook on business. Cheryl's upbringing and personality gave her the fearlessness and drive needed to be successful, even as a single parent. When Cheryl returned to the corporate world, she didn't know her time away would open her eyes.
I realized every situation I'd get into, there was so much inequity going on, so much lack of integrity and lack of ethics, that I thought, I gotta write about this.
Cheryl earned a PhD in financial management, became a minister, and published a book.
I wanted to write this because I wanted to begin to transform the relationship with wealth. That's why I wrote the book. and in metaphysics. And I know a lot of people are going to say, what, metaphysics? But, you know, putting the spirit and the physical together.
The book and Dr. Cheryl's relentless pursuit to help people stay financially healthy made her an international speaker.
It actually makes me a little emotional about this, because I believe in my heart that people are starving for something to shift in their lives.
Knowing that she needed a bigger stage to help people, Dr. Cheryl took her message to cable television with Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl.
I've done accounting and investing for all my life, and I've lost it. And I've gotten it back, and I've lost it. I've been ripped off. I know what it feels like to be homeless. I do know what that feels like. And I know what it feels like to have money. So I feel like I can have empathy for the people that don't have money, that's never had money. I have more faith around money than I've ever had in my life. And it's because I've done a lot of work. You know, it takes discipline. It takes work. And if you're lazy, it won't work. But if you really want to make that change, it works.
Very honored in the work you're doing, helping people discover the range of ways of achieving wealth.
Yes, and thank you. Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl. I'll leave you with this. Never give up. Wherever you are and what you're doing in your life, work with integrity and have a positive attitude. First and foremost, with your family and friends. First, be aware of and conscious of your thoughts, and catch yourself before they come out of your mouth when they're negative. Be grateful for whose you are and where you have come from and what you have, and be grateful for your freedom and eat healthy. Good nutrition feeds the mind and the body temple. Don't forget to exercise. Feed your spirituality with meditation and prayer. Thank God for unconditional love. Love yourself unconditionally. Stop criticizing, stop judging, and allowing others to dominate the way you feel and think about yourself. Be compassionate and share your abundance and wealth with others. When fear knocks, let faith answer the door. You are what you are and where you are because of what goes into your mind. You can change what you are and where you are by changing what goes into your mind. Zig Ziglar.